Got it?
Got it. All right. Good evening, everyone. So, what is it? Okay, sorry, popped up. So I'm excited to get started tonight. We're going to discuss, it's going to be a really good evening. We're going to talk about following up and what you should say when you're reaching out to current contacts as well as cold and warm market contacts. But we're going to be catering it kind of based on your color personality. So if you have no clue what I'm talking about with color personalities, this is a book you need. Okay, so it's the 4 color personalities for MLM, the secret language for network marketing, and it's on Big Al Schreider. It's a must. It's like 90 pages. It's a really quick read, but it's a fabulous tool for your business. So before we hear from a few gals tonight about color personality and some tips, I'm going to read to you some statistics and share some more info with you about following up and tapping into that cold and warm market. And even sometimes, I know a warm market is basically people you know, but it can sometimes even be a harder market because that's the people that you care the most about and you care what they think. So the statistics, did y'all know that 44% of people give up after one follow-up? 80% of sales require 5 to 12 follow-ups. So that's shocking, right? 44% of people have an 80% probability they won't close the sale. So too often we're giving up after one follow-up message, despite the statistics showing us that we need more, 5 to 12. And you know, I thought about this for a while. I get a lot of messages every day, and people, they're reaching out to me saying, hey, I'm terrified to reach out and follow up. You know, what will someone think about me? Will they see me as salesy? Do I sound crazy? Am I bugging them? And let me tell you, no, you're not bugging them. Even if they're ignoring you, you know, they might just, it doesn't mean they don't want your product. It just means that, you know, they're busy. Sometimes kids get the phone, they answer other messages, they don't get to yours. I just keep reaching out until someone tells me to buzz off. And even then, I mean, I still talk to them as a friend, and then I watch them time and time again come back and finally purchase the products. And often it's because we began to develop a relationship and they now trust me. And there's 3 roles that are pretty easy when it comes to cold messaging and following up, if you just think about it like this. Role number 1 is a long lost friend. Most people don't do well with following up and their cold market because they start with the wrong mental approach. So basically they're seeing the other person as an intimidating stranger that might not have any interest in what they have to offer. But we all know that Plexus can help everybody. So we have a product that they need. So if you're seeing them like that, you're probably not going to build a connection with them. You might be nervous, conversation might be awkward. And it's okay to be nervous. I'm blue and I would still be nervous because you know, I love to talk to people, but when it comes to something like that, I wasn't always comfortable sharing about Plexus. The best approach to that is just to see them as a long lost friend. So one technique that I love is just imagine them as a stranger that, or, you know, someone that you're just following up with that you haven't seen in years. You know, you went to high school or college with them and it's the first time you've spoken to them. And this could be even someone you've been talking to, but just imagine them like that. You're reconnecting. And that brings you to rule number 2, listen more and talk less. If you want people to like you, you have to let them talk. Everyone loves to talk about themselves, so the more you let them talk, the more they're going to be able to connect with you. And on a flip side, the more that you talk, the more you might bore them and they might not love you so much. So just be sincerely, genuinely interested in them, and it should be natural for you to let them talk. Then you want to just ask questions, you know, let them share what they've been up to, because after all, they're a long lost friend that you haven't connected with. So the more they talk, what's going to happen is the third role, and that's finding things in common. So we naturally like people who we have things in common with. Think back to maybe you bumped into somebody that went to the same high school or the same college as you, and instantly you felt closer, you felt a bond. Even if it was different years, you still felt a connection there. And it's the same for if I'll meet people and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm from Pennsylvania. That's where I grew up. And then it's like instantly, like you have all these Pennsylvania jokes and you understand everything everyone's saying. Another thing is sports teams. Last night, think about it, all the playoff games. I bet y'all immediately looked at Facebook, and if someone was rooting for the Cowboys or the Steelers and they were your team, you thought, I like that person. If it was the Packers or the Chiefs, you were probably like, yeah, not so much. So when you're establishing some commonality, people are going to be more interested to naturally build that relationship with you. And the key to finding a common point, viewing them as a long-lost friend, listening and letting them talk. And then once you uncover something common, share how you're similar. So now we're going to kind of go into color personalities and listening to what everyone has to share about their color, give you some tips on reaching out, following up, cold contacts, warm market. So Fallon is first. Fallon is red. She's definitely has some more blue, I think, since I hang out with her enough. But she's red, so red. And reds make up 15% of the population. So
15%? Is that what you said?
Yes, you are 15%.
What's the number 1%? What's the biggest category?
The biggest is green and yellow. Greens and yellows make up 35%. Blue and reds each make up 15%.
Interesting. Okay, that's good to know. I can definitely see that dynamic, especially in Plexus. There's a lot of yellows because you do have to want to care about people. And I will say that as a red, sometimes we get stereotyped as very bowl them over, goal-driven, don't care about anybody. And that's not true. We just might have to work on that side a little bit more. So when you are reaching out to people, you have to be really careful to make it about them, because you might see diamond or whatever your next rank is and view people as a number instead of as a person. And they need to know that you care about them as a friend. So just be really careful to care about them and ask a lot of questions. Make it about them. Don't view them as a number, like I gotta get them, like real forceful. But at the same time, you don't want to lose that bold confidence that reds tend to have, because you do need that. You need the mentality of everybody needs these products, everybody needs this business, everybody loves Plexus in order to close the deal and make the sale. So that's really important. When I reach out to people, I like to keep it really simple, and I will just say something like, hey, have you ever thought about trying Plexus? I will try to build a relationship with them by commenting and maybe a message like, oh my gosh, I love your daughter's hair bow. Where did you get it? Or that was such a cute necklace you had on. Where did you get it? Something like that. Try to build a relationship so when I do message them, they kind of know who I am. But don't spend too much time building the relationship where it drags on for months and months and you never reach out to them about Plexus, because you might see them join someone else's team when you had been eyeing them and they were on your list. So I just like to keep it simple. Hey, have you ever thought about trying Plexus? And usually what they will say is, no, what's Plexus? So they have no idea what it is. And as a red, I'm very aware of the fact that this opportunity isn't going to be around like it is so huge forever. So sign these people up before your neighbor does. Learn the skills of closing the deal, that kind of thing. But really, just messaging them and just something real quick, like this isn't about me and trying to hit diamond. This is about them and getting them on the product. So ask a lot of questions, but don't ask so many questions and say so much information that you lose them. You kind of want to match the pace with them, like a give and take, like a normal conversation. You don't want a real long monologue, trying to give them all the information you can to reel them in and close the deal right there. It takes 7 to 10 follow-ups, and that's normal. And even as a diamond myself, the ratio for how many people I can recruit versus the people I talk to it's like I talked to 10 people to get 2. And that's normal. And that's to get 2 like fairly quickly. The other 8 is going to take some time and more follow-up. Eventually, they will all try Plexus if you don't give up on them. So I had one lady, as a red, I try to not be pushy, but I watched her join someone else's team, and I had the guts to message her and say, hey, why'd you choose her? I've been messaging you for 6 months. And she said, I guess she was just a little bit more pushy. That girl went on to go Fast Start Gold, and I thought, wow, I'm going to learn to be a little pushier. And by pushy, I just mean following up more diligently, not every 2 weeks, but just being a friend and messaging them as a friend so you're always at the forefront of their mind. And the same goes with people who are on your team already that you just want to stay connected to. If they are on the products and they quit the products, they decide it wasn't for them, keep talking to them as a friend because they will get back on the products. They might try some other company, but we know what we have is so different. And if they just stick with it, they're going to love it. But if you're there and you're a friend, they're going to know they weren't just another number. They weren't just to get you to the next rank. You really care about them. And that's really important. I've had 7 white liners reorder and start working in January alone. So that's just from building relationships and really caring about them and knowing these products can help them. And I think that's all I have there, Tiff.
Yeah, I had a quote down for reds. When you talk to a red, you need to let them think you need them because they already know it.
Yes, everybody does need Plexus.
Oh, it was good. Okay, so next is Brittany. Are you unmute? Okay, she unmuted. So Brittany is a green, and she makes up 35% of the population. So take it away, girl.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here talking with these awesome jewels and sharing. I haven't been at this as long as they have, so I'm still a work in process on a lot of this stuff, but I am a textbook green, as Tiffany and Jamie and I were laughing about over the weekend, so hopefully I can share a little bit from that perspective. I'm definitely very green with maybe just like a splash of red. But yes, very dominantly green. So greens are very information oriented. We love information. The more, the better. We tend to be like kind of suspicious of things that can't give us good information. So that's one reason that I love Plexus, because there's lots of good information out there that you can get. But we don't like it when people are kind of like cagey with information and can't really give us answers on something. We kind of feel like something doesn't smell right with that. And we want detailed and credible information from multiple sources. So, greens are very self-motivated to go find their own information. We don't necessarily need it to be spoon-fed to us, but it's certainly great to have resources available that can point us in the right direction. I did so much research on Plexus before, and I was the one that reached out to Kendra, my upline, about Plexus, and I had already essentially done all my research and made up my mind before she even talked to me about it. She'll tell you I was on her list, but she was waiting to reach out to me until I got done with tax season. I think I emailed her a couple days after I finished that last year. But so all that to say, I did a lot of research before. I've done a lot of research since then. I think one thing that's helpful to understand about greens is that information and understanding something really well is what makes us passionate and what connects us emotionally to something. So I think some people think it's like all facts and figures and we don't really get emotional about it. And that's not it. It's just that we have to establish that information and that trust in the information in order to like generate our passion and kind of turn our emotions onto it. So, we like money and goals and trips and friendships as much as the blues and the reds, and maybe not as much, but we do love it. It's just that we can't really get there emotionally until we've kind of had all the pieces put into place for us and we kind of get it. And then we really become passionate about it and very driven about it. Greens also really don't like to be wrong and feel stupid about things. I think the biggest holdback that greens have is the fear that they're going to make a wrong decision or look dumb for something they've done. So I think that held me back when I was first looking at Plexus. It's harder for us to kind of have that, okay, sure, I'll try it. Like, if it doesn't work, so what? Like, we tend to get stuck in that well, it's better to not try it than to try it and look dumb for having fallen for something or something like that. So getting greens past that, is a little bit of work, and you have to feed them a lot of information. But once they commit, they'll be all in. I feel like greens are great to have on your team because they're never going to be that person that doesn't take the products consistently. They're going to read everything you send them about in your welcome info. They're going to watch every video you send them, and they're going to do it right. They're going to follow it by the book. And they're not going to be that person that's like, oh yeah, I took it like a couple days this week, but then I forgot. Like, if they're going to try it, they're going to go for it, and they're going to do it well. So I feel like a lot of times it's easy to get greens results because they'll stick with the program because they want to prove to themselves whether or not it's going to work, and they don't want themselves to be the reason that it didn't work. So it's just kind of helpful information to know about greens. I think for people who aren't green, I have a feeling greens feel intimidating to reach out to. Like, if you know someone's a green and you know that they're going to want the information and that they're going to scrutinize it more, that might feel kind of intimidating, but it really doesn't have to be. It's really just that they want to be able to develop trust in the fact that you have put thought into this and have invested something intellectually in it. So I think if you're trying to reach a green, it's helpful to, focus on, the fact that maybe you were really skeptical about it at first, that but as you've learned about it, you've become more passionate, and you just, are really excited about what this has to offer. It just communicates that you have invested intellectually in what you're putting out there. And just have resources that are available to them, but, not necessarily like throwing at them all at once. It's like, you kind of got to keep them hungry and feed it to them, but they will be motivated to go out and find their own. You just kind of want to have enough to point them in the right directions. As a green working the business and how I tend to approach people, I have to watch myself because I get so energized by information. And so, there's part of me that wishes that, that I could have just had all this information and stuff to read at the tip of my fingers. I have to recognize that not everyone is like that. And that is going to scare away, some people. And so I have to very intentionally limit myself. And if I write something up, whether that's a post or a message to someone, I have to kind of intentionally say, okay, probably got to cut this down by half because this is probably a little too much to send in, kind of either an initial message or even a follow-up. So I think with greens, we just have to be worried that we don't, I say we kind of need to give information in batches and not dumps. And so don't dump on people, the second they say they're interested in Plexus, don't vomit out everything that you have available on Plexus. So, that's hard. And I loved what Tiffany said when she said, that you need to listen more and talk less. And I feel like that's hard for greens sometimes because we have a lot to say. We've invested so much in learning about this, and that excites us. And it's hard for us not to just project that everywhere. But I think that that's just a really important thing for greens to always keep in mind, is to be listening so that then you can tailor the information you're giving them. If you can't give them all the information in the world, you need to make sure the information you're giving them is the right information for that person. And so, that requires listening and asking for the information that you're going to need in order to tailor what they might be interested in about Plexus. And I think that has kind of been the number one thing that I've learned over the last few months, is to kind of try to do that and not just prove to them that I know all this stuff about this, because it's not going to impress everyone. And also just I do think one of the harder things for me is when I'll have people that start Plexus and then they aren't consistent, or they just aren't as engaged in it. And you just kind of have to reconcile yourself to the fact that not everyone is going to be that engaged, or, it just when someone will start in the products and I'll send them the stuff and I'll, kind of send them a message with the high points and all that kind of stuff. And then they'll check back, I'll check back with them in a week or 2 weeks, and they've they're not doing it correct. I'm like, did you look at anything I sent you, or listen to it? And that's really frustrating for me. And it's just learning who's going to need a little bit closer attention and a little bit tighter follow-ups versus who's going to be like, all right, I read it, I'm good to go. And they'll be fine and they'll figure it all out. And so I think that awareness is just important, because we kind of expect everyone to be as engaged and as informed as we are as greens, I think. As far as messaging people, whether it's an initial message or a follow-up, I just try to do it in a place that I know everyone's not green, but I kind of try to say it from a place that feels genuine for me. And for me, that's things that emphasize my greenness. So I'll usually throw in there, you know, I was so skeptical about this, but as I have learned more and more about it, I have just gotten so passionate or excited about what these products offer us. You know, I would love to share more of what I've learned, you know, those kind of things. I'll usually, again, say that I was skeptical, talk about how much I've learned about it. I'll usually also kind of throw a line in there just about, you know, depends on how they know me. I might say, oh, and this has been awesome for Dennis, my husband too, just, or my mom, or like however they know me, just kind of as almost like a third party validation, not like, oh, these products were great for me. And therefore I think everyone's like, there's so many people around me that these are making such a big difference for, and that makes me really excited about it. So I kind of try to focus on those things. And then for follow-ups, you know, I'll usually say something along the lines of, or basically if someone responds back to me, I've kind of developed like a little like PDF document that I'll send someone if they kind of message back and they're like, yeah, you know, I'm kind of interested. What do you have? And I have a little PDF. It's 3 pages long. I've had to intentionally limit it, but I basically have, number one, the questions that I get most often, you know, which all of us get, like, what is it not kind of thing. Basic product information on the triplex. And then I have a list of articles behind, or list on the back page that are books and articles that I found really helpful when I was researching the products. And for me, it's kind of like, all right, if you're a green and you want to go deep dive into this, at least here it is. And that way I can kind of direct them to information that I think is the most helpful. Because as we all know, you know, if you go out there and just Google Plexus, you're going to get a lot of mixed and incorrect information. So I feel like having that is just a great jumping off point for them to kind of start reading about this and learning a little bit more about it. But it's not so much information that I'm throwing at them all at once that it's going to scare off a blue, but it'll satisfy the greens and get them maybe a little hungry to learn more. So that's kind of what I do if someone expresses that interest to me. And then for a follow-up, I might just say something like, you know, just wanted to follow up on that info I sent you about Plexus. You know, what questions you have. I love all the science behind this and how these products work, and I've read so much about it. So let me know how I can be a resource to you. I'll usually say something like that, as though like, you know, because again, a lot of color personalities, they don't want all the information, but I think everyone's a little bit reassured by someone that they're like, well, I mean, like, she seems to like have at least put some thought behind it. So that's just a little bit about how I do those things. And, you know, again, I'm always tweaking it and learning a little bit more about how I can do it better. But that's kind of what I have found works for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I definitely agree. You can't overload a green with information. And it's funny because in our chats, I'm always like, she's asking so much stuff.
I keep you guys busy.
It's okay though. It's just, you know, I'm not being a blue. I'm just like, woo! Which leads me into blue. And I'll kind of go over that in regards to green and red and stuff. But I'm definitely blue. Makes up 15% of the population. Blues are open, direct with their feelings, very right brain, talk fast, very creative. We have to be doing fun things. Fallon's like, you leave your house a lot. And I'm like, I always got to be on the move. Got to do something fun, girl. Like she says to me all the time. It's really hard for me to just keep my butt planted. We're strong on family relationships. We're spontaneous, adventurous, enthusiastic. We love meeting new people, being the life of a party. We're always talking. So when you talk to a blue, you want to focus on fun. You want to talk about excitement, and you never want to try to sell a blue, which is actually what Fallon didn't do to me. I was thinking about that as I was reading more about blue. You know, unlike Brittany being green, I did no research on the products. I just listened to Fallon telling me about all this fun stuff, and she talked to me a lot, and parties and networking and just all the fun it could be. So once I finally tried the pink drink, the sample, because of course I don't like being sold. So it was 4 months that I had it until I even tried it. And then it took me 2 days to even try it because I thought it might kill me because I didn't do the research like a green. And I just joined for the discount. So But so basically for me, sharing, you can share the gym, kids sporting events, church, checkout line, anywhere you can share about Plexus. As a blue, I would, think back to what we just talked about, the 3 roles, long lost friend, listen more, talk less, find things in common. Definitely great when you're reaching a cold market. I always start with just asking everybody all the time, hey, how's your day going? And smile. A smile can really just be all you need to brighten a person's day. They're even more likely to open up and talk to you just because you're smiling. So what do you say next? Depending on what they say regarding their health, finances, current situation in life, I might say something like, I'm pretty animated because I'm blue, so it's a lot different for me. I reach out like, oh my gosh, girl, I can totally relate. And that's just no fun. I've been there. I'm like, I'd love to share something with you that changed my life. And I think it could really help, excite, motivate you to feel healthier, earn you more money, reach your goals, kind of, just whatever you're doing, I say it. So I'm basically sharing with them. And you don't always have to share Plexus. Just connecting with someone you like is great too. So you don't even have to mention Plexus. But if you do, then that leads me to where I'll always start asking, may I friend you on Facebook to send you more info? And I think this is something some people struggle with too. You can hand them your phone and ask them to add themselves. And a lot of times, we're in a century generation now where it's okay. Social media has taken over. You've got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I think MySpace is still around. But there's just so much stuff. So it's normal. And I've never had anyone like, this girl's crazy. But doing that, giving them their phone, saying, hey, will you plug this in? I'd love to send you more info. It ensures that you have their info. It's easier to contact them, and it shows them your posts on Facebook. A phone number and email is good too. Sometimes when I'm out, I have along with me just a small packet with my business card attached, and inside of it, I keep these little brochures that talk about the triplex, and one is about all the products in general. That you can get those off Etsy. We have some links in Pink Power. But something I found that's probably, I don't use it as much because I tend to jump right to Facebook. But if you're out, say, however you would say to reach out to them and say, well, I'd love to give you some more info, and I give them this. But then when I open it up for them, I have in here a form that they fill out. So I'm like, oh, would you mind taking a minute to fill this out? So it's kind of easier for people that might not be as bold to just get their name, cell. It has Facebook here. They can write all that down. So that's super simple for people too. Another way that I like to share is if maybe I'm trying to connect, but we don't have a conversation going about Plexus, or they didn't really open up when I asked them how they're doing. I say to them, oh my, I'll look at my clock and I'll say, hey, I have to run, because creating an urgency, it's, it makes you look important, and it shows that your time is valued, and it shows that also, their time is valued. But you're saying I have an incredible health and wellness product that's totally changing lives, and I'm currently marketing in this area. Would you be willing to try it and give me your honest feedback? People love free samples, and they feel valued because you're asking them for their opinion. So that's another great way to connect with them too when you're out. So that's kind of the cold market stuff. And even some of your warmer market. Connecting online with your follow-ups, handle your objections first. Any objections they have. We have some great resources and files in Pink Power. And I always tell them, oh, that's definitely something Plexus can help you with, but before mentioning Plexus, we've all kind of talked about, connect with them, talk to them, ask them what's new, how their New Year's resolution is. I've had people that I've asked them about Plexus and they never message me back, but then I ask them something like that and they're right there messaging me back. So, and you know, it's just about building that relationship with them. This is a relationship business. And what happens is they come back to you and they want to hear more about you. Then they open up more and they tell you, you know, how they're feeling. They get down to just what's really on their mind and stuff. So, you know, remember the 3 rules above: long lost friend, connecting again, and then sharing with them. So basically, that's, I think, what I have here for that. And then Jamie, you are up last here, girl. Are you unmuted?
Yep.
All right. So Jamie is yellow, and Jamie makes up 35% of the population. So, Jamie?
All right. So yellows are, to give you a rundown on that, typically supportive, nurturing. Oftentimes they're nurses or teachers or full-time moms who love helping kids, love helping people get what they want. They're not interested in hard business side, but they will be involved to just help other people. They can be indecisive, high credibility. They can be well organized and great at multitasking. So for me, when I first saw Tiffany posting, I watched her for a little while, and what actually got me excited was when it kind of clicked and I realized that this could really help my mom and dad. So my dad has diabetes, my mom has osteoporosis, and I started telling them, and I actually started selling Plexus before I even joined, now that I think of it, but because I was telling them about these testimonies and saying this is going to get to the root of the issue and you really need to try this. And so I got passionate and excited because I thought it could help people that I cared about. So I do have a business testimony too, and the more as I kind of got ready for this, I realized I do tell that even kind of from a yellow perspective. I will say the whole general aspect of the business and the perks and the fun stuff that comes with it, but does not tend to be what I focus on. I'm not as comfortable talking about that as I am about saying how it's really helped our family and what it's done for our family. I was going to have to go back to work part-time or full-time, and this came along around the same time, and I was able to stay at home with my kids, which is something that to me was a really big deal because I just always grew up wanting to be able to have kids and stay home with them, and it's just something I had envisioned and was passionate about and wanted to do well before they were in school. So that was a big deal for me, and so I tend to talk about how that impacted me and our family, and helping pay for Christian education and just big things for our family. So I tend to gravitate towards the testimonies, the real life examples of our friends and family, and I just like to tell the stories when I'm talking to people. And if you're ever worried about bothering people or about what other people will think of you, take a step back from that situation and turn that focus from yourself to those people, because we need to not worry about us and make it about us, and we need to turn that on to them and realize that we have something that can really help them and that it's about them, it's not about us, and not to kind of make that selfish in that way. So when it comes to cold messaging and following up, Tiffany is, as she said, really great about being out in public and just talking to everybody and their brother in the store and the dentist office and whatever have you. And for me, I will talk to people, and I've gotten better and it's gotten easier for me, but I've had to be very intentional about that in public, doing it, and it was really out of my comfort zone. And it has gotten easier, but it's something I do have to be intentional about. And it's easier for me on Facebook, say, to what I do to kind of get new contacts. A lot of times I like to find people in my past and past communities I've lived in, or old friends, finding new contacts there. You could join groups and, talk to people in there, make connections, and then friend people that way. So those are just some other options as well that you can do. When messaging on Facebook, if you are talking to someone who is an old friend or you used to have a relationship with them, a lot of times it can be really good to just touch base and send them a message like, hey, Susie, it's been a long time. How have you been? What's life look like for you right now? And just kind of
talking first before even jumping into Plexus. So that's kind of a way to cultivate some relationships first. Cold contact you can do if you are looking at their page and something's going on and they're sick. Chat with them about that. Hey, I've seen that your family's been so sick lately. That must be hard. My kids we used to get a lot in our house and it never seemed to leave. But lately we don't get sick hardly anymore. And, would you mind me sharing a little bit more about why that is? We've been taking some great supplements, vitamins, something like that. In person, sometimes I just start off conversation. If I'm in the store, I'll just be like, hey, do you take any vitamins or supplements? And I start off that way and ask them about that. And then I can tell them that, we use Plexus. Have you heard of that? And go from there and talk about how it's a natural plant-based supplement. I talk about how it's helped some of my family and friends. And I kind of tend to focus on bringing that up a lot. My dad's off half his diabetes meds. I have a friend who's off 10 prescription meds. I mentioned Tiffany. So just some people, real life stories that I can share that I know to connect with people. And then for follow-up, there's lots of different ways to follow up. If you've sent them information, a lot of times I'll just, ask them specific questions. Hey, did you get a chance to look at that? What'd you like best? Would you mind sharing with me what your health goals or concerns are, and just kind of getting them talk about themselves. It's also really great to share testimonies or Diamond Docs, just to kind of get a personal connection, especially if you know what they're struggling with, and then you can have them connect to that. And some good tips that you could do along with that is always ending with a question or setting deadlines in your follow-up. So say, hey, here's some more information, or here's a testimony. Why don't you check it out? I'll get back with you on Tuesday and see what you think. That way they expect that next follow-up instead of, going back to that worrying about being annoying or whatever you might worry about. If you already tell them that you're going to follow up, they can expect that, and that you're going to. So basically, tips from a yellow: share your story. Just make it about you. Make it about them, but be genuine about yourself. People oftentimes don't want to be sold something, but they are interested in what's going on with you. They're interested in how something has helped you. So just connect with them and make it real. And whatever your color, from this whole night here, from all 4 color personalities, the important thing is to be yourself and to be genuine. And if you can relate to one of these colors, then you can use those tips, but don't get too comfortable there, because big growth is going to happen if we get outside of our comfort zone. So we want to stay true to ourselves, but we need to be flexible too. So if someone is a green, for example, you're not going to want to keep just throwing all these mushy-gushy testimonies at them and not ever give them the cold, hard facts that they really are going to, thrive on, and what's really going to help them out in the end. So make sure you are flexible in how you reach out to people and tailor it to, the person that you're talking to. Another good tip is making sure to always share about the products and the business, because you never know what someone needs. Someone might look financially stable and you think they have it all together, but they might really be hurting for money, or they might really hate their job, or they might have just lost their job. And someone might look completely healthy, but they might be suffering with anxiety, or they might be in pain, or not be able to sleep at night. So don't ever prejudge someone, or anticipate that they wouldn't need one or the other. So just be sharing about both, and be open to how you share the products and how you share the business. So that's all.
Love it. Great job, Jamie. And yes, I remember that you definitely weren't quick to jump on board, but you knew that the products were helping your family, so you wanted to help others. It made complete sense when I understood the color personalities, which a lot does when you understand what those 4 colors are. And thankful that Fallon didn't prejudge me. I mean, I was thin, but I had talked about my mom having some headaches and stuff, but I was on over 10 prescription medications, so she had no clue about that. I mean, I think she about fell off her stool when she found out. But so I wanted to say, just with following up to y'all, don't leave it to just your like new prospects. Don't just follow up on, you know, people that are new or haven't joined yet. Follow up with your customers, tell them about the amazing business opportunity, and definitely follow up with your white lines. The people that have, you know, quit taking the products, or even the people that aren't getting $100 worth of the product every month, you know, be following up with them, be building those relationships. Don't forget about them. Continue to be a friend. Plexus has a lot of great opportunities right now to take advantage of right now with the 60-day trim up. You know, our new products, I'm sure there's more products, you know, coming out over conventions, stuff like that. So there's a lot of exciting stuff to share with people, especially if they've, you know, fallen left before. So it's a great time to stay consistent with that. Situations, I'm always saying, hey, situations change in people's life. It's the new year. They have resolutions. You know, their health could have changed. They could have got more money, a new job. They could have lost a job. They're now looking for a business opportunity. Their health, they ended up getting on an extra prescription medication. They're sick of those meds. So, you know, just keep up with them. And just remember, if you're having a hard time connecting, think long lost friend. Listen more, talk less, and find things in common. And it's going to really help you feel better about reaching out. Anybody else, any of you ladies have anything to add? Fallon, do you think we got everything? Everyone?
Yeah, I think everything was good. I mean, just remember, you guys, that everybody gets ignored. I mean, as a diamond, I still get ignored by people. But seriously, every time I still analyze, okay, what did I say? Why did they ignore me? Because if you're messaging 50 people and everyone's ignoring you, we might need to take a step back. But to be ignored is totally normal. For people to stop responding after they say they're going to join, totally normal. Life just got busy for them. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm the only one. This happens to everybody. And that just really made me feel better to see other diamonds while I was gold, to know that they weren't getting joins right away. And I just wasn't alone in that. So
good. Yeah. And I even said that to you just today. I'm like, oh, good. You still get ignored too? Because I was like, what's going on? So yeah, so we do all, it happens. But like she said, it's not, you know, if you're sending out 50 messages and saw them, then let's connect and figure out what you're saying. But if it's a few here and there, I mean, again, people get busy, lives get in the way. So yes, I think that's everything we have to share for this evening, y'all. Thank you for being on the call. I think we were going to get kind of a file put together then with, you know, kind of what to say to help out word for word to send that. But have a good night, guys.
bye.